Jim Knight is a 30-year veteran in the training and development world. He spent 21 years with Hard Rock International as their senior director of training for the brand's School of Hard Rocks. Jim oversaw all learning initiatives for their global cafes, for their hotels, and their casinos. In 2012, Jim officially retired from corporate life, but he extended his career as a professional speaker and author. Jim's message, Culture and Service That Rocks, is centered on creating, maintaining, and revolutionizing an organizational culture, especially in customer service. This morning, he'll demonstrate how you can differentiate your brand from your competitors and how you can stay relevant in today's marketplace. So please welcome Jim Knight. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah. Appreciate it. All right. That guy's got the golden voice, doesn't he? I was just telling him backstage that he has got a broadcast quality voice. Hey, I am absolutely thrilled and honored to spend a little bit of time with you kicking off the October market. It's one of these things where I get a chance to really spend some time in retail, which is a little bit of my background. Right now, my number one and number two clients are automotive service repair and funeral directors. So I am really big right now in death care, and if somebody says I can go and hang out in hospitality or hang out in retail, I absolutely love it. And some of you maybe have seen me before speak. Just by show of hands, how many people have in fact seen me, or this is your first time? Just double checking, making sure you guys are awake. We got a lot of stuff to do. I'm going to show you this one slide. If you'll look on your table somewhere, there is a sheet of paper. We're actually going to do a little bit of work. If you feel like it, and if you have something to write with, I would be so happy if you actually wrote some things down. You will not be able to keep up with me. Right now, I'm talking slow. I'm going to pick up the pace because I've got like 10 pounds of content I want to put in a 5-pound bag. I want to try to give you as much information so it's meaty for you before you go out on the market and say, that was worth our time. The fact that you write it down means it's going to help in your retention level. Like I said, if you think you can keep up with me because you were wired that way when you were in school or you go to a conference like this, you're going to try and write down everything the speaker says, good luck, you won't be able to do it. And some of you, no matter how much I begged you, you're not going to write stuff down because that's how you're wired. And I'm all right with that too. I still dig you, but I do think it'll help in your retention level if you write it down. But I do have a lot of stuff I'm going to do, and the only things that I care about are those bullet points getting filled out. It'll look exactly like that when we get there. And I'm going to start with this analogy right here, the old analogy of an iceberg. So the stuff that Rich was just talking about around branding, this is exactly how my mind thinks when I think about a brand. At the very top, what I think everybody probably knows, that when you see an iceberg, you do realize it's only like 10-15% of the actual thing. You know that, right? I don't care how big that iceberg is. The bulk of the thing, the mass of it's below the surface. So in our world, this is exactly what the customer sees. The consumer, they get an experience, and out of all the stuff that they might actually view or experience at that time, it's the smallest part. So I'm a training and development guy. My whole world has always been below the surface. And I think all of that internal environment, everything that you see below the surface, is the stuff that I ever really care about. Because the reality is I can't do anything about the stuff up top. I can come with a different, let's say, service philosophy. I can sling away at all the different problems that I'm trying to solve, but I'm just working on the leaves of the problem tree. I never get to the root cause stuff that'll give you great sustainable issues. That's what I want to focus on. So it's all those bullet points that just showed up. It's your mission statement. It's your value orientation. It's every tool, every process, every form, the behaviors that have happened in the past. It's the leadership environment that we create. Like all things are created twice, first mentally and then physically. And it might be a split-second decision, decide to go right versus left, or it could be that you're building something and it takes years to actually get that thing right. But we have to think about it first before we physically do it. And my point on this is, let's work on all these things below the surface, specifically because the majority of you in here as independent business owners, I would think that unless you're a standalone entrepreneur working in a kiosk by yourself, you probably are getting zero results on your own. We're doing it off the back of humans. We're doing it off the back of other people who have this killer, unbelievable human endowment called free will. They're going to do what they want to do anyway. So when the boss isn't around, they're going to go and act and behave a certain way. You hope like heck that if you do all these things that are in those bullet points below the surface, it parlays up, it bubbles up to the top, and people get the experience that you're looking for. So I'm going to start with that mindset, but I will give you a little bit of something different to think about. When I say culture, I don't know what runs through your head, but when I was a younger professional, I always thought of that word as a little bit nebulous, a little bit fuzzy. What exactly is culture? Is there a definition? Or do you just say that it's everything? Because that's an easy thing to do. And I know we can't work on everything all at once if we want to make the business better. And I'm all about, if you saw in the introduction there, it could be that some of us need some revolutionizing. We might have to overhaul the business. I'd like to think that the majority of you, when you come to an event like this, when you're going out to the market to look, how can I make my business better? It's not revolutionizing. It's just, boop, boop, boop. You're trying to amp it up. You just want to get a little bit better. You want to be better than you did the day before or the year before. So for me, when I start to think about culture, I do think that people confuse this word with culture. Heritage. It's a great word. I love heritage. Another synonym, another word for that might be what? First thing that comes to your mind when you hear the word heritage is what? Tradition. Right? Tradition. It might be in the past. And I'm going to say that I love heritage. I'm attracted to heritage. I love organizations that have an unbelievably great story. I actually really am attracted to that. But the reality is, as Rich was saying, I think earlier, that as great as our story might be, and I'm assuming that you have some unbelievably great stories out here, the reality is, if I'm the new guy today, I care more about the here and now. Like, I do care about nostalgia. I really do like that, and I do like heritage. And so I'm talking to a lot of people that maybe are perhaps not just the owner. You might be the founder. And if you are the founder, if you've been around for 10, 15, 20 years, if you're the owner, then that probably means a whole heck of a lot more to you. If I'm the new associate that gets hired today, I'm attracted to it. That's probably why I walked in the door in the first place. But the reality is I care about what's happening to me today. So heritage, I like it. Don't think that I don't. But the reality is that's the difference between culture, which is about the present. And the only way that I can say this, because of this bullet point I'm putting up right here, this is my ultimate definition of culture. I think that a brand really looks at a culture as just a collection of individual behaviors. That's what I think it is. It's just a bunch of people who have their own unique behaviors, their own value orientation. Now that might be great, or that could be a little bit squirrely. That could be some issues out there for some people. Because I do talk in front of some organizations every once in a while in an industry that say, oh, it's not the same as it used to be. It was so cool 20 years ago. You know why? It's because of this last bullet point. As people come and go, the culture changes. You don't even notice it sometimes. 20 years down the road, people are going, oh, what happened to the way it used to be? Well, no duh, man. The reason is because you weren't able to keep the exact same people with you for 2-3 decades. If you, in fact, could do that, you'd have the exact culture that you wanted. But the reality is, this is what's happening all the time. People are coming and going. And if somebody leaves the organization, culture just changed just then, immediately. And if I'm the lowest line level employee, whatever that is in our particular world, in your particular world, it still changed maybe a tiny little bit. If the founder, if the CEO, if the owner leaves and they've got broad sweeping impacts and influence, then it probably changed a little bit more. So again, I'm saying I am all about heritage. I love it, but the reality is I care more about the here and now, and so do the majority of the people that are working for us. Here's the first takeaway. I'd love for you to write this down. Number one, celebrate heritage. Celebrate it. Throw your arms around it. Let's love on it. Let's use it to our advantage. But the reality is we need to focus on culture, and that's the here and now. That is about behavioral type stuff. Again, I'm going to acknowledge that some of you maybe are working on your own and you don't need anybody else. I would guess the majority of us in here are not. We need people. We need to marshal resources who have behaviors. Everything in our life, everything is behavioral driven. It's the difference between us and the rest of the animal kingdom. Everything is learned behavior. We learn everything from our parents, from school, from the playground, from religion, lack of religion. By the time they come to us as an associate, they are the way they are. I cannot, as good of a trainer maybe as I thought I used to be, I cannot train people how to smile, man. I cannot train people to have a good personality. You either got it or you don't. Can you focus on it? Can I run over here and focus on some competency? I totally could, but that's a lot of work for me as an associate. That is painful for me to do if it's not part of my natural disposition. And by the way, I'm probably dropping a whole bunch of other competencies over here. Everything is behavioral. Therefore, part of the goal, not so much training, is let's go out there and find the right people to fit inside our business. So again, celebrate heritage. I love it. It's not enough. We need to focus on the here and now. The most successful companies in the world have a shared mindset. So every once in a while, I get a chance to hang out with some Fortune 500 companies. And by the way, if you ever wanted to find any financial data or information on a Fortune 500, certainly Fortune 100, most admired companies in the world, you can see just about anything that you'd ever want to from a sales and profit standpoint, because it's in the public domain. What you do not see is, again, that stuff below the surface of the iceberg. They do some things wonderfully that you probably will never, ever experience or see. But one of the things they do very well is they communicate. They figure out a way to be on a hunt to communicate to everybody, so everybody knows exactly what they're working on. Their back of the house, whatever it is, if they actually had a physical piece of property, it is loaded with information. It's an information superhighway back there. They have more all-staff meetings, more department meetings, more one-on-one meetings. They have figured out not to just have one performance appraisal a year. Somehow they have ongoing regular performance discussions. So when I actually have to fill out the form to go on my employee file to get more money from human resources, I am still crystal clear as exactly what it is we're supposed to be working on, because my boss has been talking to me. I'm not out here in fuzzy la-la land trying to figure out what we're supposed to be doing. Somebody's communicated it to me, and it is crystal clear. I'm going to do a little science experiment with you here. It's the only time I'm going to ask you to do this. I would love it if all 1,000 of you would stand up. I want you to stand up for a moment. It's the only time I'm going to ask you to do it. And while you're standing, I want you to close your eyes. Close your eyes. Do not cheat. We're not going to do anything freaky. You don't have to walk around. We're not going to touch anybody. You don't have to do anything. But I do want you to close your eyes, and to the best of your ability, I want you to point to where you think north is. Do not cheat. Do not look around. Do not get any help from your friends. Look around, look around, look around. Don't move your arms, though. Now you can open your eyes and look around. All right, this is actually not too bad. I see some people pointing in the right direction, but I see a lot that are not as well. I can tell you that right now you have an opinion, I would guess. Keep your arms there. You can't put them down. You've made your choice. You cannot move it. Don't try and move it because you're looking at other people. I can tell you, I know exactly where north is because I have a compass. And the compass is law. The compass does not lie. And when I tell you where it is, it's not going to change later on, and it's not going to change tomorrow. You think you know where it is. There's no windows in here. I'm hoping some of you are from this area. For the most part, I'll say it's back here, but it's a little bit over here to the right. This is north. We'll make it easy. South, this is east and west. North is back in this direction. All right, you can sit down if you want to. It was not really a competition. I was just wanting to see where we are. Just by show of hands, you did not move your arms after I told you where it was. How many people got that right? You know where north is. Or at least you were pointing in the right direction. Show of hands, keep them up, keep them up. I'm just looking for a percentage. I'll give you half. I'll give you 50%. That's a lot. All these people, you guys probably work over here. 50% of the people got that right. What are the other 50%? Guessing, maybe, right? But guessed wrong. They did the best that they could. You don't have to actually have a compass, but we do need somebody to give us some direction at some point. I love companies that are focusing on a compass. They know where true north is at all times. They're not focusing so much on a thing as much as they are on relationships. Some of the language that Dan and Rich was just talking about earlier. They're not focusing on just being efficient. They're trying to be effective. I am constantly on the hunt when I communicate with people to try and get them to go, I know where north is at all times. I'm not over here in fuzzy land. Because if, in fact, I don't tell you where it is, if I don't tell you, if I'm supposed to be your leader, that that's north, here's exactly what you look like. We got our arms flailing all over the place. 50% got it right. I would think there's probably a broad swath of that 50% that probably also was guessing. The others got it wrong. And so unfortunately, if I don't tell you, for instance, what our service philosophy is, if you don't know what it is that we're supposed to be working on, every associate, every team member that's working for you, then we're going to get dysfunctional results. Maybe we hit the ultimate result, whatever metric you're looking for. Some dollar, some number, some percent, employee survey scores, guest satisfaction scores, obviously the financial side. We want all of those metrics to be hit. But if you don't tell me what it is, if you don't give me any direction, I'm going to do the best that I can. I might stumble upon it by accident. Unfortunately, this happens all the time. What we would rather have is everybody going in the same direction. And when that happens, you get to something else. You get to organizational productivity to the extent that it is sustainable. That's exactly what we want. If you told me to hit budget at all cost, I bet I could do it. You give me some crazy, silly number, whether I create it on my own, you dictate what it is, or we decide what it is. If you give me an ultimate number, I bet you I could hit it this year. But I would do stupid, silly things. I'd stay open 24 hours. I'd get rid of any paper costs. Training, I'm not doing any training. I'd put some bullets in some managers. Like if it was to get to the ultimate number, if my bonus was dependent on it, I'm not even kidding either. If that's what it took, I would do whatever. But then how long can I do that? How many years can I get away with it? Like 1 year, maybe. Maybe I got another rabbit up my sleeve and I could get away with 2. That's not sustainable at all. That first example, if I just guess, you don't tell me what I'm supposed to be doing and I'm over here and I don't know where north is, I might hit it, I might not. And that might be all on me. But if I could get everybody ollie, ollie in free. We all know where north is. If we can all take the hill together, all of a sudden, now it's something spectacular. I'm not just interested in budget anymore. I want prior year. I want the trajectory to constantly be going up. That does not happen by accident. That has to happen when we're all focused in the right direction. I can't be fuzzy out here. I cannot tell everybody in here to go right and a couple of you decide to go left. We'll have a culture of confusion. That's exactly what will happen. When I think about this concept, I think about this band right here. U2. Does everybody know who U2 is? So double check with that first. Because they're the biggest band on the planet right now, right? Everybody knows who U2 is. So my question is, who's that guy and that guy? Who are they? Yeah, we all know them as the other 2 dudes in U2, right? It's Adam Clayton and Larry Mullen Jr. They're the 2 lesser-known guys in U2. It's the bass player and the drummer, who don't always get a lot of love. It's always the lead guitarist out there, you know. The front girl, the front guy always gets the glory. You forget about that bass player over there on the side, just sort of keep him beat. You forget about him or her. You forget about the drummer hanging all the way back there in the very back, can't hardly even see the guy. Adam and Larry, and I've seen some interviews with these guys where they say that every single time they're performing at a U2 show, every single show, they're trying to do the exact same thing they did the night before. Exactly the same. They're the engine that makes U2 happen. You go talk to those other 2 guys in the middle, Bono and The Edge. Oh no. They don't want to do the same thing as the night before. They want to do something completely different. They want to soar the band to new heights and take them some crazy different direction. Maybe even change the set list because the audience wasn't in the state of mind that they needed at that moment. But they're not U2, it's just 2 guys. Everybody has a part to play in the band. And you got to get to every single one of them as part of our communication, our mentorship. Spend time. It's going to take some time and patience, but the rewards are going to be so much more Herculean. That's what you want. Everybody has a part to play in the band. These 4 guys know exactly their role that they play. But when they all get on that same direction, they're unstoppable. They're unstoppable. Number 2, be like U2. Everybody has to be singing off the same sheet of music. This is all about communication. Again, don't hoard the information. Don't keep it all to yourself. I know some people, maybe that's how they've always been wired. No, need-to-know basis. Well, don't expect people to be inspired and motivated. There's not as much loyalty there. We need to communicate everything that we can as much as possible to get everybody all going in the same direction. I don't want to be fuzzy out here pointing and thinking that this is north. That's north. That's north. The way you do that is through communication. So an organizational mission. So I just saw, for the first time, Do It Best's mission when I walked out here. But you all have your own, perhaps, individual mission statement. I want you to look at the 6 that I'm putting up here. I literally, no lie, went to Google and said, great companies with awesome mission statements or something like that. And I had a whole bunch of them that populated up there, and I threw 6 up on a slide. I'm assuming that you know the majority of these up here. These are pretty well-known brands. I want you to look at those mission statements on your own, read them to yourself, and think, what are some things that they all have in common? What do they have that are similar? And if you noticed, I find this very interesting. I tried to pick a big cross-section. So I've got some travel up there. I got food, I got beverage, I got retail. Not a single one talk about their product. Not one. That was pretty interesting to me. All of them are about service. They're all about the experience. They're all action-oriented. Every single one of these start with the word to. So they're aspirational. This is what we would like to do. They're inspirational for some people. I mean, if I worked at some of these brands, I worked obviously for Hard Rock. If I worked for, let's say, Lego, and I was a brick specialist, they actually have titles for those people. Brick specialist, I love it. I have a job description. I have a task list. I know exactly what I'm supposed to do. Yeah, I can do all those things. You know what my real job is to do? To inspire the builders of tomorrow. Come on, tell me that would not be cool. I would love that. To inspire and develop the builders of tomorrow. Get out of the way. If I worked at that brand, that would mean so much more to me. So these might not work for you, but for me, if I worked at that brand and first I probably remember, because that's another similarity. They're all short. They're one sentence long. You look at Do It Best, you look at exactly what we're doing. There's a few words in there. You look at your individual purpose, your mission. And if it's longer than a sentence, you're doing it wrong. People are not going to remember. If I got to take out the wallet card or look at the poster or go look at the video or go back to the class to remember it, it's probably too long. I want it to be inspiring. I want it to do something for me. The fact that I worked at Hard Rock, we had 55 countries that we operated in, 40,000 Hard Rockers around the world. Believe me, there's a lot of job descriptions and paperwork that we have. Their ultimate goal is to spread the spirit of rock and roll, brother. I wanted to put in the words brother and they wouldn't let me. To spread the spirit. I'm not even interested in rock and roll so much as I am the spirit with which it came into the world. It's supposed to be irreverent, unpredictable. My parents told me, though, do not listen to it. It's too loud. It's got racy lyrics. They called it the devil's music. That just makes me, as a teenager, want to run over there and listen to that stuff again. The spirit with which it came into the world. That's what that organization is about. So that might not work for you. That will freak out a lot of companies. But they purposefully operate to be irreverent and unpredictable and passionate. But there's a second part of that thing too. They're empowered to go out there and create authentic experiences at Rock. Authentic, not fake, not prepackaged, not programmed, not middle of the road. They want it to be genuine. They want it to be something that you will not be able to get somewhere else. That's what that's all about. So I look at all of these companies and go, that's a pretty good deal. Don't talk about the product as much as you will everything else that helps create the experience. So when I start to think about this, I've got one other brand that I want to share with you, Chick-fil-A, which is an interesting company these days. I have to be cautious when I talk about Chick-fil-A in certain industries, believe it or not. Because as you know, 2.5, 3 years ago, pretty controversial brand, right? For a couple reasons. And some people do not like, and some people absolutely love. They relish Chick-fil-A. I actually like them a lot for their product. They got some pretty good chicken. They're now obviously the #1 chicken place in the entire United States. Do you know that in 2010, they now jumped over McDonald's in same-store sales, being the most successful fast food restaurant in the entire country? They generate $2.7 million per year. McDonald's generates on average 2.4. They're not doing it opening 24 hours. And they're doing it with 6 days a week, because I think most of you probably know they're a faith-based organization. That's why some people love them and some people do not. I'm going to share with you a video, and I love this brand anyway, but I fell in love because of this video more than almost anything else. Because when people actually say, it's my pleasure, I know it's a technique, I'm sure they're taught that, it sure feels like it's authentic to me. I really do think it's somebody's pleasure to be waiting on me because of the way they deliver it. And I've never had a mistake ever in a Chick-fil-A drive-thru. I can't say that about any other fast food joint ever. And I'm telling you, out of all that stuff combined, it doesn't mean as much as this video. They show something like 5 videos in their day 1 orientation. This is the first one that they lay on you within an hour. And I want you to imagine for a second, let's pretend you're a 16-year-old kid. You're going in for your very first job at Chick-fil-A. You think you're selling chicken sandwiches, and this is what they show you within an hour. Every person has a story. So that's the most depressing Chick-fil-A restaurant of all time, isn't it? Oh my goodness. I mean, but wow, seriously. You might have an opinion about this brand one way or another, but I see something like that and I go, at the very least, you cannot stomp on them for hiring the right people for their particular brand. You show something like that, because one of two things are gonna happen. If I'm a new employee, if it's day one and you lay on me on that, one of two things are gonna happen. Either I'm gonna go, yeah, I found a home. This is perfect. This is exactly the company, the brand I should be working for. Or, nope, I'm out of here. This isn't gonna work for me. So they self-select. They make sure that the people that are gonna come and work for them are exactly what they're looking for. It's amazing to me. That's why that title of that, Every Person is a Story, they just think that really chicken is the byproduct. That's the conduit that they're using to get to really figuring out what's going on in people's lives so we can make it better. So I like a lot about that brand. And again, it's not gonna fit for everybody, but when I look at mission statements, when I think about your value orientation, when I think about collateral like that video, and I'm not encouraging you to go and create something like that, that might not fit for your particular company. I'm just saying they're really big brands. They figured it out and they're doing something. Number 3, create and embody a customer-obsessed purpose to the business. Customer-obsessed. If I'm the customer, you can't move fast enough for me. If I'm the customer, there's not enough attention to detail for me. I need as much responsiveness and genuine follow-up and care. Look me in the eye. Make it feel like it's authentic. That's what customer obsession is. I will do anything for the end user. Whoever's buying my stuff or I'm delivering a service, I will do anything ultimately for the consumer. But my point along this, once again, is that you can't do it on your own. We got to get a whole bunch of people out there to do it with us or for us. So these types of things like mission statements and posters and wallet cards and videos, they may sound silly and maybe you don't have that in your organization, but the more that I can communicate with people on a regular basis and inspire people to follow and do the things that I want them to do, that's great. It's an awesome definition of leadership, by the way. Getting people to do the things that you want them to do that they might not have done on their own. And for me, it's for a preordained result. I know exactly what I need people to do. I might have to play some Jedi mind tricks on a few of them, but at some point, if they do the things that I need them to do, I'm hopefully going to get the results that I'm looking for. I want it to always be better than that. But if we're all in the same game, we all know where true north is, which is what part of customer obsession is, you're more likely to get there. Here's a great book that I like. It's called The Experience Economy. You maybe have read this before. It's in the top 100 of all business books, all business books. They talk about how to go out there and create experiences, so there's some value there. That book's been out like 15 minutes. I've become friends with one of the authors, Jim Gilmore. They talk about a couple things in there. I'm only going to share these 2 things that I really got out of it, a lot to share with you. That shouldn't stop you from going out and getting the book. But the very first thought is that you have to go out there and create memories. If you cannot create a memory, you're not going to be a long-term sustainable brand, because then it becomes transactional. Then it just becomes about a product. That's it. And you can hang your hat on the product if you want to and sell the absolute best and nobody else has it until they do. Until somebody comes and plant themselves right beside you or across the street from you, sells similar stuff, probably at a discount, cheaper price, all of a sudden you're out of business. I will point to a date on the calendar when you will go out of business. If we don't constantly think that the thing that we have at our disposal that they don't, perhaps, isn't about the product, it isn't transactional, it's about creating memories. And people are going to have to change in some ways, particularly in retail. I am shocked that this still happens to me all the time, that it's just a blasé experience. And I'm going to talk about mediocre in just a moment. Mediocrity absolutely kills me. But one of the things that you have that you can hang your hat on is on the service philosophy. We've got to change. And if we don't change, which people absolutely hate, I mean, if you hate change, I get it, but, you know, you're going to hate extinction. Extinction's not fun. People have to think differently, and it is all about service. And the thing about the book, it is just replete with a whole bunch of information saying, you've got to be in the memory-making business. So I'm going to talk about differentiation. I think probably either Dan or Rich or both probably talked about it. I can't go to a conference without hearing this word, differentiation. The reality is it's absolutely true. We have got to go out there and differentiate ourselves if we have any hope of actual real sustainability. And part of it is you've got to figure out a way to personalize, customize, individualize the experience so I'm not just treated like another number like somebody else. Whether you see me every day or whether you see me one time a year or you've never seen me before, we've got to figure out a way that we have other people, including ourselves, saying, I'm going to personalize, I am going to customize and individualize the experience for you at this moment, because that's what it requires to absolutely rock your face off. That's what I'm trying to do. And I'm going to talk in some grandiose terms with you because that's how I believe. Because if I don't talk up here, you know what the associates are going to do? An employee is going to meet me 75%. And so if I teach to this, they're going to meet me about 75%. And all of a sudden, I'm back in the same sea of sameness that everybody else is. I'd rather shoot for the stars. I don't want to be some forgettable garage band. I want to be a rock star. And I need to get people to think in those terms that they're performing for a packed house. So I think, how can I personalize, customize, individualize the experience to absolutely blow your mind? That's what I'm looking for. I used to do this all the time. I would see people walk in, whether I used to work at Olive Garden, but definitely at Hard Rock because I had a wonderful palette with which to paint. People would walk in and I would look and I would figure out, what can I do with this person right here, right now to absolutely create a memory? It might be what they're wearing. They come in with a cowboy hat, I'm probably saying something to them. Hey, what's up, Tex? Like I'm willing to go there because I know the guy next door isn't going to do it. I'm willing to stick my neck out. And one of two things are going to happen. He or she is either going to think that's funny, and they're going to chuckle and rib their friends, or they're not. And if they're stoic, that's when I go, oh, whoa, okay. I know how far I can or can't go with this person. He or she is about something else, and it's about attention to detail. That's cool. But I at least wanted to take a chance because I know nobody else is. Somebody walks in with a competitor t-shirt, I don't let it fly. I say something. Seriously, really? Come on, man, you're coming in with that? You come in with my t-shirt, chest pumping you, I'm high-fiving you. There's a reason why you wore it and you're thinking about it. You come in with kids, I know the way to a parent's heart. I'm down on the floor with the kids, I'm on one knee, I'm coloring with a coloring book. If I'm in a hospitality environment, I make them be the order maker. They're the ones giving the order for the table, make them the heroes. If I'm a parent, are you kidding me? Somebody's taking care of my kids, talking to my kids. I get to eat a hot meal for once, I get to sit back. And if I'm a tipped employee, you're probably getting more money. I'm taking out my wallet. So I think about these things all the time. I will walk beside a table and they're talking about, where can I go find some live music tonight? I know exactly where the cool live music is. They don't even know it yet. I'm gonna circle back around in 5 minutes from now and lay on them where the cool concert is. Because you're saying something, you're doing something, you're wearing something, you're staring at something. All of these things, I'm on the hunt looking to absolutely create an experience that's different than what somebody else is gonna give. I've seen people staring at a piece of something on the wall. You have great merchandising in your stores. Luckily, I had rock and roll memorabilia, right? So somebody's sitting here looking, freaking out on some piece of gear hanging out on a Hard Rock wall. Mouth open, saliva coming out. Why are they freaking out? On this Jimi Hendrix Flying V guitar that he played at Woodstock. Why? Is Hendrix his man? Is it that guitar? Was this guy at Woodstock? I don't even know. Sometimes I will walk up beside people all the time and I do this. Hey, pretty cool, huh? Because he or she has got to talk to me. They're going to say something. They're not going to sit there like a bump on a log. I'm that guy. I am looking for an opportunity to talk to people. I talk to people in the hallway. I talk to people in the elevator because I am looking, what can I do right now? What are you doing, wearing, with, whatever? I am looking to create some personalization. Used to do it all the time. I said I fell in love with Chick-fil-A. I go through the drive-thru quite a bit. I've got 15-year-old twin daughters, so we eat a whole bunch of chicken nuggets in our house. Every once in a while I go inside. I go into Chick-fil-A. It's probably about a year ago now. I'm standing in line. I don't go in very often. There's two people in front of me, and then there's a counter, and there's this kid behind the counter. His name's Jose. I've never remembered the first name of anybody in a fast food joint in my entire life, but I'll never forget Jose because of exactly what he did. So I'm standing there, I got my legs spread out, I got my hands on my hips, I'm looking at the board, squinting my eyes, trying to figure out if I want to order something different than what I normally order, which I never do, and neither do you. We get the same stuff. And I'm sitting there looking, and the last customer moves out of the way, and I make eye contact with this kid, Jose, and he immediately goes, "Well, hey there, Peter Pan." So I'm busting a gut, like the two of us. There's nobody behind me. There's nobody else on the line. It's just he and I with the counter in between, and we're on the counter laughing. He's got tears coming out because we're laughing so hard and high-fiving. Because I just thought, this kid gets it. He's the exact person that I want in that environment. He could have easily just said the same old that everybody else does. Next, can I take your order? Can I help you, please? Same thing that everybody else does. This guy, literally, for him, I was low-hanging fruit. I was just, it was there for the plucking. He said, "Oh yeah, I'm going there." And he pulled it right off the branch because somebody else just won't do it. I guarantee you, that kid did not wake up in the morning going, "I sure hope I get to use my Peter Pan line today." You know, that just came to him organically. He personalized the experience, just like some of the brands that you see the pictures up there. But it can't be fake, it can't be canned, it can't be same old, because people see right through that. They see through a technique. They do. I would much rather have employees that are, in fact, unapologetically authentic. They will do anything to create customer obsession. And we should allow people to do that. We should be out there doling out permission slips to say, I want you to take a chance. Figure it out. Figure it out to do something special for me and personalize it for me. Wouldn't you rather? I don't know, this probably scares a lot of people. Doesn't scare me at all, but I would much rather pull somebody back from the brink and go, come here, man. Psst, you got to pull it back, dude. You're going to get me into trouble. I'm going to go to jail if you keep doing what you're doing. You got to, a little bit. Don't go past the line. Versus trying to get a dozen people in my store to go uphill and do anything exciting. Because if I make my decision off of price, I'm going to go and get it somewhere else, perhaps. I'm looking for the cheapest deal. I'm going to go online where I don't need a human to go out there and actually get the products that I need. That's the difference. I got to have associates that are, in fact, in the memory-making business. They show up every single day. I'm going to create a memory. Again, maybe a little bit grandiose for you, but that's exactly what I think. Like being at your first rock concert. You never forget your first concert, ever. You might not remember all of your concerts, but you never forget your first. You know what was going on in your life. You remember the drive all the way over to the venue. You probably listened to the same exact songs that they were about to play on the way there. You remember who the opening band was and what the first song was and who you were hanging out with and making out with at the time. That experience of being at your first concert, unforgettable. That's a spectacular moment. That is a memory that people never forget. I want people that are passionate, committed, that show up to work every day saying, I am here to absolutely rock people's worlds, not just make the donuts, not just punch the time clock and put in the absolute bare minimum. Next one, number 4, people crave differentiation. They crave it. People are looking for ways to be treated different. So if you're going to do that, you got to go out there and deliver something that's different. Deliver personalized, customized, individualized experiences. People crave differentiation. By the way, if I'm going too fast on some of these things, I'll make sure that you guys have a final sheet with all these written down too, if you feel like we're moving at some blazing speed, but I want to make sure I get all this content in for you. The second part of it, I want to be a realist too. As much as I talk about creating memories, I also know that stuff costs money. And if you're going to go in there and if people are making their decision off of price and price alone, then that's a hard place to compete with. What I would rather us focus on is price per value. I am looking for the value of whatever it is I'm going to spend the money on. So the book talks about this all the time. This particular book, The Experience Economy, I'm going to teach a little bit of a different mindset. So if I was to create these two axes, I'm trying to go through all the way down to the far one on the right-hand side. The name of the book is The Experience Economy. That's the economy that I want, but there are 3 others that come before it. There's the commodities economy, the goods economy, the services economy, and then we get to the really good one. The problem is, as I go down the line on that axis, there's another one that goes vertical up there that every time I get into one of those economies, the price for the consumer starts to go up. So if you had the ability to get access to the raw commodities, and I'm just picking an example here, those are coffee beans, if you can see those up there. Does anybody in this room grow coffee? Anybody? Nobody grows coffee on their own. So number 1, we don't even get a chance to play in that space. But if you could, it is a tremendous amount of work. Apparently it's like 4 or 5 years to get the perfect crop, to get the right beans, and then you got to do something with it, with all the roasting and everything, to actually get a cup of coffee on your own. If you made it on your own, tremendous amount of work, but the price per cup would be something like less than 1 penny, less than 1 cent. But we don't play in that space. So we immediately have to go, we can only play in the next economy, which is the goods. You have to go to the store, you get a can or a bag of coffee, whatever it is, Folgers, Maxwell House, whatever. You can make like 80 cups of coffee out of that stuff, but you have to do something with it. You got to put it in your little Mr. Coffee maker if you're really fancy. You put it in a French press, 80 cups of coffee out of that thing. So there's some work that comes with it, but you start doing the math, now it's like 10 cents, but it's worth it. Not only is it worth it, it's the only one I can start with because I don't have access to the raw commodity. Some of you don't want to do that. You would rather get into the services economy. You don't want to do any work. You go to a restaurant or a diner or a cafe somewhere and you get that endless, bottomless cup of coffee. You don't have to do anything. You sit back and somebody is waiting on me. But now it's pricey. Now it's $1.50. But I'm okay with that because I don't have to do any work and I can have as much as I want. You want to get into the experience economy, you know what's coming, right? You know who's going to be up there, right? Of course they are. Of course it is. That's the brand that has revolutionized and changed, seriously, not just the way we buy coffee, but the boutique business. They've changed everything for me, and I grew up in Central Florida. I grew up in Orlando. Where did Starbucks start? Seattle, as far away in the country as they could get. It took forever for them to get to my state. The best coffee I could get, which I loved, was Barney's coffee. So if I didn't want to get my Folgers at Maxwell House, I would go to the mall, go to the Barney store, I'd get a premium cup of coffee. It wasn't about the experience, though. It was about just getting a little bit of a different type of a premium cup. These guys come to town. I walk in for the first time, and it is like, it was like a moment for me, because I'm experience starved. I am looking for stuff like this, and I don't know anything about them. I walk in and I love the furniture. Some of it's ergonomic, some of it's overstuffed, good for your back, some of it's just comfortable. I like the painting and the poetry on the walls. I like the fact that you could buy music there. I'm working in the music business and we're getting our butts handed to us by Starbucks because of their Hear Music program. I like the fact that you can recycle. Not only do they use like 30% post-consumable product, you can recycle coffee grinds, for crying out loud. You can bring that stuff in. I thought that was pretty interesting. I like the guy behind the counter, the barista. They got a title and everything for that guy or girl. But I like him because I identify with him. He reminds me of people that I like to hang out with. He looks freaky. He's got tattoos and body piercings. He's got some freaky hair and colored hair or whatever. And he writes my name on the cup. We take it for granted now. That was like a big deal. I like everything about it, and I don't know that much about what I'm doing in there. In fact, I'm looking at the board again, squinting my eyes going, how do I even order? I don't even know their language. I do the best I can. In fact, I did something like this. Could I get a medium latte? Did I say it right? Latte? But I like mine a little bit thicker. Instead of milk, I want to put some half and half, and maybe a shot of vanilla. And what the barista says is, man, what you want is a grande vanilla breve latte. I was like, whatever, dude. I'm not learning like the freaky Starbucks language. I'm not. Guess what I look like the second time I'm in Starbucks? The same as you. I'm standing in line going, grande vanilla breve latte, grande vanilla breve. Because I don't want to look like the dummy, And I'm proud. I got my Peter Pan stance again. I'm like, I'll have a grande vanilla breve latte, I'm high-fiving the dude because I got it right. They have changed everything for me in the way that we order. That whole entire experience is unbelievable. And the reality is it's not even about the coffee, which is another great book. There's a great book out there called It's Not About the Coffee, because Starbucks also realizes, awesome as it is, it's all the stuff that I just mentioned. They get their butts handed to them in a blind taste test against Dunkin' Donuts 2-1 every single time. Every single time. When I worked at Hard Rock, I can tell you, it was not about the burger. It wasn't. I don't even call these guys. So if I'm going up the scale here, where I started with less than a penny, 10 cents, ultimately $1.50, I don't even call these guys Starbucks anymore. When I think about them, I call them $4, because I'm going to spend $4 every time I walk in. And I'm a 2 Starbucks type of guy. I'm spending $8 a day, 5 days a week. You start doing the math, $2,000 a year on Starbucks coffee, when I could go to work and get it for free in the break room, just like you. It's not about the coffee. It's not. It's about all those other things. When I said I was working at Hard Rock, I look at the burger that we now serve, which wasn't that great back in the mid-90s. It's pretty overpriced today. I will hold my hat against any other burger concept. That quality product is great, but it starts at $16 and goes up. There's a $20 burger on that menu. Now, if it was just about hamburgers, I'm going to Five Guys. I'm going to In-N-Out. I'm going to Whataburger. I'm going to Smash Burger. I'm going to Steak and Shake. Like, I can find a hamburger for cheapy cheap, but you're not paying for that. As good as that product might be, as good as your product might be, in that environment, it's about the music and the memorabilia and the buildings and the technology and the freaks you get to hang out with. You ever been inside a Hard Rock? There's some crazy off-center people in there. And that's part of what the value orientation is. It's the only zoo in the world where you get to hang out with the animals, I like to say about that brand. I absolutely love it, and these are the people that I like to hang out with. But if you walk into this environment and you're going to hang your hat on just the product, you're going to be in a world of hurt if that's all that brand ever focused on. Looking for more than that. You owe me at least $16 worth of value. Because I've done a little bit of work with Lego, I found this interesting. I had to go to a Lego store, do a little bit of mystery shopping, and I sat in there and watched people playing with this thing, this Lego pet shop. Does anybody like to play with Lego bricks if you've ever done that when you were a kid or your kids do? You know how much that thing costs now? $150. It's pretty expensive. And I sat there and watched parents and kids playing with that thing together. So I go, it's worth it. Look at that memory. And so they go and gobble that thing up and box it up and they take it home. It's even hilarious when you see the kid runs off to do something else and the parent's still there playing with that pet shop. It's hilarious, right? Lego's figured out a way to go out there and create memories. For me, the strong culture looks like this. The public is going to first come into contact with us because they are interested in buying something. Let's just be realists. They're coming in to actually get products. And as good as this is, and I think Rich talked on this earlier, we have to be stellar at that. Some of you have some control over products, some of us don't. You certainly have control in the environment and the atmosphere and how it's merchandised. That is within our direct control. Both of those have to be great. If we stopped right there, that would not be enough. And again, people are going to make their decision off of convenience or theme or price. It's not going to be because of something else. And for me, I built this as a force multiplier. I want all of these. I don't want just product and atmosphere. I want the service philosophy to be so different that I can't get it somewhere else. To the extent that there is a value that comes with that then if you sit and put all that together, you look like the dude in the Memorex commercial, completely blown away. But all of those things have to happen. And my point on this is that product is not enough. It's not enough. Experience is a key. Service trumps product, price, convenience, and theme. Every single time. It always has. It always will. Number 5, value matters. Value matters. And if you do it right, memorable experiences will help justify price. You bring something spectacular to the table for the consumer. You do that for me as a customer. And I know this might be controversial for some of you. I think you could raise prices and get away with it. But you owe me that much more value. I'm not trying to match up the memory with the actual cost. It's got to supersede that. You got to give me more than whatever it is I'm going to pay. Memorable experiences help justify price. And ultimately, what I'm trying to create are raving fans that look like this. Like screaming, weeping chicks at a rock concert. I'm not even kidding. I can't ever think of another picture that I'd ever want to use. Mentally, not physically, not literally, but mentally, I want people having such a great experience that they're thinking, oh yeah, I want more of that. That's what I want. I am looking for an opportunity. I mean, look at those girls on the far left-hand side. They are freaking out. It's not because of whatever's on stage is making them cry because they're sad. They are freaking out because of how awesome it is. And if you look, it's not the Beatles, it's David Cassidy. Look real close. David Cassidy. Hey, if David Cassidy can do this, we can do this. We can create a moment that looks like this. Can you guys put those slides back up here in the very back of the room for me? That would be great. I want to make sure I'm not missing any points up here. There you go. So here's what I'm trying to avoid, 4-letter words. 4-letter words are a little bit different than what you might be thinking about. When I ask somebody, how was the experience? And they say this, oh, it was fine, it was good. Or if you spell it out, it was okay. Isn't that the best burger you ever had? It was fine. Isn't that the best bed you ever slept on? It was okay. Whew, man, that hurts. Isn't that the best looking store you've ever seen? It was good. Ding, 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 ding. These are all red flags for me. I was talking about this earlier. These words scream in my mind of mediocrity. I cannot stand mediocrity, and I continue to endorse its continuance. Part of it is because I'm just so used to it now. It's almost like people got together in some big conference like this and for a while just said, if you're in hospitality, if you're in retail, let's just be mediocre for a while and see what that's like. Because I think actually it happened. And you can leapfrog your competitors. As independent business owners, you can leapfrog the big dogs out there. You can get in front of that pack if we stay away from words that are going to happen like fine and good and okay. Got to avoid those at all costs. I absolutely can't stand it. And I equate this to vanilla ice cream. I love me some vanilla ice cream. I absolutely love it. But the reality is everybody does vanilla ice cream. Got to figure out a way to do something different. People need a little bit of chocolate in their life. I say bring the chocolate, the whipped cream, and the sprinkles. Bring something and do something different to inspire me and motivate me to want to continue to come back. And that's going to be my next takeaway. Be the chocolate. Be the chocolate. And if you do that, you will avoid 4-letter words. You will avoid the fine and the goods and the okay. You're going to catch yourself hearing that or even saying it at some point. Maybe not today when you're in the market. But at some point when you get back to the business, you got to avoid sea of sameness, mediocrity, vanilla ice cream that everybody else gives. We need a little bit of chocolate out there. So my final kind of thought out here is that we need 3C associates. We need people who, in fact, can do all 3 of these things. Would I love to have people that have great competence? I would. I hope people can actually do the job. It's the least important C out of all the ones, but I do care about it. What I really care about is that people have strong character and that they fit. They have an organizational culture fit with the brand when they first come on board. That's what we're looking for. And if you do these things right, which really good brands figure out that it's not about the experience. It's about doing something from a culture and character standpoint that I can train people the skills. I'd rather hire people for the personality and train them for the skills. And I think about this concept right here. You guys know this band, right? Who is this band? It's the Rolling Stones, arguably one of the greatest rock and roll bands of all time. You at least have to appreciate them for their music and their musicianship. This is funny to me. They have not had a hit record in 2.5 decades. They've not had a hit song since 1989. Think about that for a second. We all know who they are. Have not had a hit song since 1989. Even their last album, A Bigger Bang, wasn't a very big hit. But what was the big #1 hit song off of that? The big #1 song? That's right, there wasn't one. Apparently. And nobody's even buying any of the new stuff. And nobody wants to hear the new stuff when they go see the Stones, right? Do you know they make more money than anybody else? They're the top grossing act every single time that they tour. What a weird juxtaposition. They are not selling albums, apparently, as much, but they make more money when they go on the road. So if you were actually interested in buying an entire new Rolling Stones song, people in the room, digital downloads, whatever works, you're going to spend some money, like $12 to $16, however you get that, iTunes, Amazon, whatever it is. If you could actually get tickets to a Stone show, which is a really hard thing to do, you're going to spend some money. Starting prices were at $175, going all the way up to $2,500. It's amazing. On the day of, go to eBay or StubHub. I guarantee you will see tickets being sold for $3,000 a piece. Because they can, and some schmo's gonna spend the money on that. But if you could actually be at the show, come on, you've seen the commercial, what is it? Priceless. It's priceless. You know why? People are willing to spend the money for the show because of the show. They will spend the money for the show because of the show. The associates, the employees, are in fact the show. They are rock stars playing for a packed house. That's how we have to think about them. And we need to incent them like that and treat them like they're rock royalty because we need them more than they need us, quite honestly. Last concept, write that down. Hire rock stars, not lip syncers, to amp up the band. You know what a rock star is? It's the absolute best top talent that you can find. That's what I'm interested in finding. Somebody who's absolutely going to bring the thunder every single day and not just come in, once again, punching the time clock. What I cannot stand are lip syncers. People that are just flapping their gums going through the motions. And you know they're going to be revealed at some point. They will be unmasked at some point. Just ask Milli Vanilli. Do you guys miss Milli Vanilli? I can't deal with lip syncers. What I need is a rock star. Guys, if y'all just hit that last arrow up there, I'm going to put my last slide up there. It's got some information. I'm going to make sure that you get all this data at some point, like I said, to the folks here at Do It Best. I hope that you guys have fun today as you're going throughout the system. I will tell you this last thing. If there are, in fact, 3 birds on a telephone wire, one decides to fly away, how many birds are left? Still 3. One decided to fly away, but he didn't fly away. There's a difference between thought and action. I was only able to get to like 7 or 8 of these points. I hope you just don't think about it. I hope the time was valuable. I hope you do something with the information to make your business better. But I had fun doing my best for you guys. Thanks so much.